Come join me, Asajj Ventress, and the fellas on Rule the Galaxy.
Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. Thanks so much for checking us out recently on YouTube and following us on all podcast platforms of choice. It is Joe in the pilot seat. We're going to do a little one-on-one fireside chat today with one of my favorite guys. I love following him on all social media platforms, seeing his comments out there. But I learned about him way back when on Beltway Banthas. You can check him out now on Geeky Stoics. And he is the author of How the Force Can Fix the World. It's your friend and my friend, Mr. Stephen Kent. Stephen, how are you?
Hey, Joe, I'm doing all right.
Good, good. I'm so glad we got a chance to get together and have a quick conversation. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come and speak with us here on Rule the Galaxy. I gave the rest of the crew the night off, so we can just sit here and have a little fun, just you and me.
Good. They deserve it. They've been working hard.
They have. And
How many episodes are y'all into at this point? My goodness.
we're in the 315, 316 kind of range. We bypassed doing a big 300 celebration just because, you know what, it was too cumbersome of work for me to.
Good for you.
Yeah, so
Beltway Banthas made it to like 150.
okay.
Made a nice little splash, but we didn't make it that long. Good on you.
It it surprises me, it surprises my wife, and it surprises our co-hosts that we are at these numbers. But I found it more.
Your wife. I can't believe this is still going on.
100%. That is basically the words that come out of her mouth at least once a week. And yeah, so she is surprised by it, but she has found that it's a good release and it's a way for me, so many guys, let's be 1950s guys here. We'd either have bowling nights, poker nights,
Mhm.
or golf course.
Yeah.
My release is talking Star Wars with my friends.
Bowling alone does not have to be our reality. That's what we do, and I think I just saw some viral tweet the other day about Prince Charles or whoever with the royal family is now starting a podcast where he talks about his favorite music, and his tweet was just like, "There is nothing that can stop men from sitting in front of a Shure microphone and talking about their lives," and here we are.
It is kind of a funny thing, and that takes me down a whole different topic, but it'll probably be brief. I felt like podcasting when I originally started checking it out, listening to it, and then when I jumped into it in 2020, that it was about the everyday common man just taking the time to share their thoughts and feelings about a certain topic they were interested in. In the last few years, every celebrity now has a podcast.
Yeah, what the latest entrant is the governor of California, Gavin Newsom,
Yeah.
having candid conversations. And then I saw Senator Martha Blackburn of Tennessee that she has a podcast that she hosts on a soundstage in Washington, D.C. And
Mhm.
I'm just going, why? Why? What are you doing? Don't you have a job? I mean, I get that you don't like live in the Senate and Gavin Newsom has free time and all this stuff, but it's just so, it's funny how we often feel podcasting has gotten crowded and the market is oversaturated, but there are still people going, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's my time for a podcast.
Well, and reluctantly, I put some, if not all, of our recent shows on YouTube. It's not because I like looking at myself, but people say, "Oh, well, YouTube's the way to go now, right? Podcasting is now becoming passe, and people want to see what you're doing and what you're discussing." And I must be old school because I still would rather be driving along in my car or cutting my grass, listening to a podcast than watching it.
Always.
Yeah, and I'm wondering where it's going to go next, right? We're going to take one step at a time. What's the next thing the common man is going to go do out there that feels like they can make themselves a little bit of money or take up their time? So
Town crier, I think. Go out into the town square. Hello, my friends and neighbors. No, yeah, that's
I've
what we
been
should.
watching I've been watching the show Turn. I'm sure you've watched it.
Yes.
Washington Spies. That right there immediately made me think of that when you talked about the town crier. So
There's a great like town crier in the HBO series Rome, and it's just this big guy, and he just goes out and basically is just like just posting tweets. He's just like Caesar has crossed the Rubicon. Everyone should shelter in place for 4 days.
I I'm gonna have to check that one out. Yeah, that's kind of good. Well, again, we discussed it before we got on the show, and in our interactions uh, as we were planning this out. It's really kind of a clean slate here tonight, but I do have some things that I've been asking people recently and just trying to pick their brains. We have some things going on in the Star Wars world, but I just figured I'd start off with this one. Uh, where are you in your Star Wars fandom right now?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I am in a time of rest. I'm in downtime right now as a Star Wars fan. I have found that lately I'm not thinking about it a lot. And these things do happen in waves throughout life. I mean, I remember the period between 2005, the closure. Well, I mean, I was pretty active still from 2005 to 2008 after Revenge of the Sith, but really like 2008 to 2007 was just a down period where I just wasn't thinking about it anymore.
Hmm.
And I would say I feel like for the past year, I've been less engaged. And that's not for any particular reason. I'm not one of those people who, throws my laptop out the window every couple of months when a new Star Wars thing isn't as good as I want. And, I throw a tantrum on Twitter and like, Star Wars is dead. Um, there hasn't really been anything for me that's done that lately. I don't know. I've just been kind of tuned out. I'm really excited about the Andor season 2 trailer. I mean, it looks fantastic. Uh, there's been a lot of commentary about the cutting of the trailer and kind of the choice to use kind of pop music like rock and roll. I have questions about that, but it speaks to the vibe of the show, which is it's just made for protest culture, rising up against power. It's supposed to feel, I think, very much like the uprisings of the 1960s in the United States over Vietnam and racial segregation and all that kind of stuff. And so, like rock and roll as a foundation to that
Hmm.
trailer, I think it vibed correctly. It feels the way it's supposed to feel, and it just looks like art. And every time I see Andor anything, I just go, I know Disney can do this. Like Disney,
Hmm.
it's not like Disney can't make great Star Wars. It's just sometimes they just choose not to. And that's the part where I go, why have you done this? Why did you do that? Yeah.
You are correct. I after the trailer came out, I actually took some time and did a rewatch because
Mm.
it had been, let's face it, it's been a while since I've checked out Andor. And I found it more entertaining the second time than I did the first time.
Mm.
And I don't know if it was because I was able to watch it at my pace and not that once a week wait and see, hoping that next week's going to be a little bit better or kind of pace that it was brought out in.
Hmm.
But it really, you could feel it when you watch it back to back to back. You could
Hmm.
feel that growth, that urgency, that leveling up every time. And I felt a lot more. I got a lot more out of it this time around than I did the first time.
Yeah, so I'm due for a rewatch. I am going to go back through the first season before season 2 comes out here in April. Um, because I haven't watched it since it aired. It left a very good impression. I love it. It's just sort of one of those things that it is such a prestige level drama. You typically rewatch prestige dramas every couple of years. Like you rewatch them again. Like Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is like a thing where it's the kind of television you don't watch, back to back in 2 years. That's a lot, even one season of it. So I am going to go back through it. I have to confess, I actually didn't finish the finale of Skeleton Crew. Liked the show, really was enjoying Skeleton Crew. My family was all watching it together, my wife and my daughter. And we did one of those things where we were kind of like cutting some costs for a month, and so I cut Disney Plus. It's back online now, but I haven't put it back on to finish the show. I actually still don't know how it ends, which is a problem. So
Here's the funny thing about that is I'll just have a quick conversation about that. I really enjoyed Skeleton Crew. I think you mentioned you enjoyed it as well. It had a good vibe to it, had a good feel to it. Definitely had that 80s Spielberg, Zemeckis,
mission accomplished. Yeah.
all those kind of things, and it hit the right feels, right? There were a lot of people that said the last episode didn't hit as much or the way they wanted, but I looked at it and I felt like, if this is a standalone thing and it's on its own, I'm fine with how it ends. Because every now and then there needs to be a little mystery in Star Wars, and it doesn't have to tie into every bit about it. Uh,
Yeah, and I am still in the curmudgeonly category of anybody who is saying it didn't hit the way that they wanted or feel the way they wanted it to feel are likely saying that on Twitter. So right, they have a Twitter account. They're a voracious consumer of Star Wars and media, and they're also probably over the age of 18. And I actually don't care if Skeleton Crew didn't make you rise out of your seat and feel satisfied as a full-grown adult of a show that is very clearly being marketed towards like early like teens, right?
yep.
Young adults, YA audience. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
what do you want this show to make you feel? Um, I just think that sometimes movie critics and adult fans bring their desire to be children again,
Yep.
which is commendable, um, to the table on these things, and then force that onto the show and say, "This didn't satisfy me." And I don't. I would like to know what your grandchild, niece, or nephew think. That's what I want to know.
Everyone, and it's funny you
Yeah.
say that because everyone that pretty much is in the Rule of the Galaxy crew has younger kids besides me. I have grand
Mhm.
but they're 2 and 1, so it's not really a show for them yet. But their kids, the co-host kids, they sat and watched it with them,
Mhm.
and the kids were completely enthralled. The kids were looking forward to sitting down week to week and
Yeah.
watching this preteen adventure in
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah, and I did this with my daughter does watch every Star Wars thing with me. She's 14.
Hmm.
And we watched The Acolyte together. We watched Skeleton Crew together. Those are the most recent things that have come out. And I really I keep my mouth shut. I zip it, and I want to know kind of what she thinks before I let my opinions out of the bag, and sort of prime her for what is a wrong and wrong and a correct way to think. Um, and she was kind of crawling out of her skin with The Acolyte. She was just like, "What is this? this is weird." And and the weird like sexual tension in
Hmm.
The Acolyte that was just kind of not out of left field because you could kind of see it coming, but it was just, whoa, guys, what is this? Again, this was YA
Yeah.
content, whereas Skeleton Crew, really is appealing, I think, to exactly the age that the kids are, like 9, 10-year-olds, and then teenagers can, of course, enjoy it, and parents get that, nostalgia rush because they know what this is. This is ET and Lagoonies.
Exactly.
They know that this is Amblin Entertainment. Through Star Wars, and so they get that good vibe. But yeah, so I don't know how it ends. I actually haven't had it spoiled for me yet, so I think I will probably dive into that here in the next couple of days and close it out.
No, that sounds like a great plan. And honestly, I'm 53 years old, and you know what? That it just it just made me feel like I was a kid in the 80s again, like I was ready to go to the mall and the arcade
Mm,
after watching it. You know, it was kind of like watching Stranger Things,
yep,
how
yep,
that made you feel. It
yep.
had that feel for me, and so I wasn't looking for it to be Hamlet. Um, I was more looking for it to just be like, this is fun, right?
Yeah.
So it was all good there. But
We went to the mall and the arcade last night. That was our kind of like fun night out with the teenager. You know, we took her out and we went to the mall and went to the arcade, bought shoes. It was good.
good
It
for
felt
you.
it felt old school. We loved it.
Gosh, you know, I see the malls around me right now, and I think it's not the same as what it used to be. I hopefully your mall's nice. There are some nice malls in Indianapolis, but the ones near me, I'm looking at going, kind of missing that old vibe you had to you. So,
Yeah, you're not looking to get human trafficked inside the sketchy mall. You're gonna like go into the wrong store and then have your organs extracted.
oh gosh, man, that should be a movie right there. That is a real life situation there. So you mentioned you've been doing more reading and less, watching of TV and things like that. I got the opportunity to be one of the early viewers of Star Wars Mask of Fear, Reign of the Empire.
Okay.
I don't know if you have checked that out or not yet,
No,
or
it's definitely on the to-do. So give me, I don't mind spoilers. Like, give me the
oh,
skinny. Like, what are you loving about Mask of Fear?
yeah, so I really enjoyed it. It is that meaty time. It's right after Revenge of the Sith, and it's not all about clones. It's all about the political intrigue going on with Mon Mothma, Bail Organa. There's there's plenty of new characters added in. There's actually a very cool, in my opinion. I've heard other people say they didn't like him, but you know what? I did. It was a separatist kind of super super soldier that they put in place to kind of destroy things on the separatist side of things,
Hmm.
and very cool added in. It was like put in a cyber kind of tank waiting to be released, and something happened where like pirates found him and everything like that. But a lot of intrigue. You could see already there was some very deep moments of the Empire and like Masameda coming and talking to
Hmm.
Mothma. So for me, it hit on all cylinders right there.
What did you learn about politics in the birth of the empire period that you didn't know before?
Well, that is a good question. Some of that is explained because even though we didn't have the new Galactic Empire until Revenge of the Sith,
Hmm.
the Emperor was putting all this in place well in advance, and there were things going on that he had pre-planned, pre-structured, everything like prisons, uh,
Hmm.
like we see in Andor. All that stuff was going on, and at the end, one of the things that Masameda is he takes him out and says, "Look, this is going to happen whether you like it or not. You can go do your Senate thing and all that, but we've kind of
Hmm.
already laid the groundwork, and if you speak out, here's where people are going to go and here's what's going to happen." So it
Yep.
was very cool on that, and did a lot of the inner workings of the spy network, like the ISB, what they were doing, how they were watching. And there were senators and congressmen that were definitely changing their tune, but also in this one they were bringing back the separatist senators who had left. So you saw a lot of deal making going on between the
Yeah.
senators coming back and rejoining the Galactic Senate.
Well, with the importance of history, underpinning inspiration for Star Wars. I actually
Hmm.
did just recently go through this, I guess biography of the Roman senator Cicero.
Okay.
And so this is by Anthony Everett. This is one of the ones I've been recently working on or finished. And it's a reminder of exactly what you're saying with Masameda, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa. Cicero and one of his contemporaries, Cato, they were uh, ardent defenders of the democratic status quo and the republic period of Rome. They were anti-Caesarian. They were
Hmm.
anti-Caesar senators. They, said all sorts of nasty and horrible things about Caesar as he was on the rise. They tried to stop him politically. They even, in the case of Cicero, broke away during the Roman Civil War and sided with Caesar's opposition in the Civil War, Pompey. And then, of course, when Caesar defeats Pompey and crosses the Rubicon, it's over. And then he, is basically, he never really becomes emperor, but, he becomes dictator. Um, and you have sort of a lining of factions where like Cicero basically changes his tune. He is a guy who goes along to get along, and he's looking to survive, and he's looking to try to minimize damage to Rome. And I'll have a point to this when I get through it.
I'm
But
listening. I
um,
gotcha.
his mode is to minimize the damage this dictator can do, and to also stay alive during this period. Um, and he ends up basically kind of making so many enemies that the person who comes after Caesar is very eager to cut his head off and cut his tongue out. And that's exactly what happens. And Cato, who also broke off against Caesar in the Republic Civil War, he ends up just killing himself, stabbing himself in the gut and dying rather than be taken into the new empire period. And I'm excited to read this book and see where Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and maybe some really hardline senators land on this and how they behave, because Mon Mothma gets criticized by certain Star Wars fans as being kind of establishment, moderate, and she is primarily, she doesn't want to die, uh,
Hmm.
but she also wants to like be a presence. And I kind of see Cicero in Mon Mothma, an orator, a giver of speeches, a troublemaker, but a troublemaker who's not looking to lose their head. So they'll walk right up to the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool because at first she portrays Bale as her friend. They are friends, but she portrays it as him being the troublemaker and
Hmm.
him being the one who will stir people up bigger than anything.
Mm.
And she's the one in the background laying the groundwork and all that. But by the end, she's as much as a troublemaker as he is, and that's why the Masameda kind of thing happens. But she's basically the emperor laid down some edicts when he became when it went into place. So she's doing everything she can to say all those when we bring the new senators back from the separatist worlds, we're going to sign off on that, but we're really going to cut him out at the knees to where it's just a front. His position is basically just, smile and wave kind of position, and all the power goes back to them. But yeah, that's what they're working on. At the same time, her and Bale both get in some trouble situations, which is surprising. Some good adventures for both of them. So yeah, I think you're right though. I like that look of her being kind of the Cicero. That had never crossed my mind before, but I can see that now.
And
And
we know, we've seen on screen when Mon Mothma finally does have to flee. That's in Rebels,
mhm.
right? That was in Star Wars Rebels where Mon Mothma does finally need to flee Coruscant and go underground as a rebel leader. And then I think the Ghost crew helped extract her and all that stuff.
It's I look, I think hopefully I didn't oversell it. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next two. I think one comes out one in 26 and one in 27 of the trilogy of these books. And I think that's a perfect place for all the political intrigue is in the novels. Sometimes it, gets taken or looked at in the wrong way when it's in the movies. Remember all the talk
Yep.
of Phantom Menace and this is what we should be talking about. We should be seeing action and everything else. But I enjoyed it then. I enjoy it in the books, but I think maybe to serve the purpose of keeping everybody happy, maybe put a lot more of it in the books and just sprinkling of it in the movies. I don't know. But it was good and I enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad. I thought with you mentioning reading that would be something you'd want to hit on there real quick. Then the next book that's coming out that I'm getting to read in advance is the New High Republic one, or not High Republic, New Acolyte book,
Okay.
The
All right.
Wayfinder, about Vernestra. and so I'm going to check that out. I was not the biggest fan of the Acolyte, so I'm hoping this adds to it and makes me see some things in a different light.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, The Acolyte again was a show that there was so much right in The Acolyte that I was enjoying, and then there was just these kind of weird minor details that just kind of spoiled it for me. My gosh, I mean the choreography, fantastic. I loved the action in The Acolyte, and then I just really soured on the message of it all, like what it was meant to say about the Jedi, the characters' choices, the moral ambiguity of the Sith acolyte. And I'm just frustrated that it's not being continued because even a bad Star Wars show, if you believe that it is bad, um, you don't want things left hanging. You want to
Yes.
see a resolution to the can of worms that they opened. And a can of worms was opened. We saw Plagueis
Yeah. Yeah.
on camera, uh, poking his head out of a cave. Completely unclear if A, he was observing the acolyte character and watching him, or if B, they were already involved together, like he was
Right.
studying under Plagueis, and Plagueis just was kind of hiding in a different part of the cave and not revealing himself to the girl. We don't know the answer to that, and we need to know the answer. Uh, and I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate it when Star Wars does this, where they don't finish what they start, even if what they started was messy.
Well, I guess if they're not going to continue it, the books would be a good way to finish that. If they're
That's a
going to
cop
just
out. Cop out. No, that's what people say. They go, well, if you'd read the book or Kylo Ren comic 7, then we learn all about the Knights of Ren. Shut up.
man, you and Brent Dykman should do a show
There are no
together.
words there.
Yeah, you are correct though. It's even if it's bad, you do want to finish the story. There's too much fertile ground when you bring Plagueis involved.
Yeah.
There's
Uh-huh.
too much. Let's face it, that is one of the most well-renowned and highly thought of books in the Star Wars universe, right? I mean, everybody wants to see that. Speaking of Disney doing something right, we talk about it all the time. Y- Yes, there is a book about Plagueis. Just make the daggone movie of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's right there in front of you. You want millions of dollars to come in quickly? Make the movie about Plagueis training Palpatine and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame. We were all kind of gung ho, thinking, "Oh, show about Sith, let's go." Who doesn't want to see that?
Hmm.
It just missed on enough things, and I think one of the things that we talked about was it wasn't so much that it was bad as it left too many holes. It left too many places where people would look and go, "Well, where is that going? Why did that happen?" Right? Mystery is sometimes good, but when it's really gaping kind of mystery, it leaves you wondering a little bit more than you need to. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Um, I don't want to keep bugging you with all this stuff. Hey, I got another topic for you. So we don't go down the acolyte sequel talk where people just like to bash things. Let's talk about some fun things. This year is the 10th anniversary and the 10th anniversary of The Force Awakens, 20th anniversary of The Revenge of the Sith. We already know Revenge of the Sith is going to come out in April at the movie theater. Are you planning on going? Are you taking your 14-year-old daughter
Oh yeah.
Revenge of the
Oh yeah.
Sith?
Absolutely. We are absolutely going to that. I wonder if there will be a commemorative bucket. I have not gotten any of the popcorn buckets, such as the infamous Dune 2 popcorn,
Oh,
you know what bucket.
yes.
But no, we'll definitely go. Um, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is my most cherished Star Wars memory. This is a generational thing, and a lot of people have their 1977 story. And for me, I was fully of age to like go and see a movie without my parents and just with my best friends for episode three. Got out of school early, got in line at like 3 p.m. Or earlier, possibly because I left school early and stayed till midnight, till 11 p.m. when they let everybody in, and one of the best days of my life. One of the best days of my life. I just cherish it, and so obviously it won't be like that again. But we will definitely go see it in theaters and take my daughter, and she still likes to joke about how I had her watch that movie when she was like 5. Because we watched all the Star Wars so early, and she was like maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I was like, I think you're ready to see this.
Yeah, you want to see some decapitation and some burning alive?
I
Let's
think
go.
I think you're ready. We need to talk about, what happens, at the end of the Jedi story. It's okay.
Yeah,
Some of it will be a little scary. Daddy's here, but this is real life. The world's not all sunshine and rainbows, and I hope you just understand that I love you. That's why I'm doing this.
and if there's therapy later, please don't tell them I showed you this movie. No, look, I mean, I'm sure she's a thriving young lady, and it did not affect her one bit whatsoever, and it probably increased her passion for the fandom, right? Because if you're that energetic about it, I'm sure she's going to be. I, I don't. I don't think we've seen anything saying there's going to be a re-release of the Force Awakens, though. Which even though it's only been 10 years, I still think that would be a good thing. There's a whole group of people that never saw it at the theater, and
Yeah, yeah.
it,
And now are you theorizing, or is this a thing that is happening?
no, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything on it. I think it would be a good thing, and I don't know. It was my favorite of the sequel trilogy. I,
Yeah.
I I left that movie with so much energy and so excited about the future of where Disney Star Wars was going. Um,
Yeah, well, we were all riding on a high at that time, no doubt. Everybody went in with good faith,
mhm.
unity, and basically like, all right, let's see what they can do. And I remember, man, I remember I went and saw it with my brother and my daughter. At that time, so she was born in 2010, so she was 5. She was 5 years old, and uh, that was again just another really really great night. Now I will never forget about that experience, and this the Han Solo thing, right? So
Oh yeah.
my brother and I, with my daughter on my side, I see what is coming. I see it. It's Kylo Ren, is like storming around the building, and then Han Solo kind of does that double take, and he decides to walk out to him. And I looked at my brother and just went, shook my head. I was like, nope, I know what's about to happen. And Michael, my brother, just kind of like grit his teeth and was like, oh no. And then I looked over at my daughter, 5 years old. We're big Harrison Ford fans in our house, and that was inculcated into her at a very young age as well. And I kind of put my hand on her leg, and this was before they even started talking. He just went, Ben! And I put my hand on her, and yeah, it went exactly the way we thought. I leaned over to her as I saw it was about to go bad when he reaches out and grabs the lightsaber, and Kylo Ren is not letting go. I leaned into her and said, "This is gonna be sad," and then.
Wow.
And it was horrible. Um, let's talk about let's spend 5 minutes on Han Solo. How do you feel 10 years later? Oh my God, 10 years about Han Solo's death at the hands of Kylo Ren.
That's probably the only part. Well, there's two parts that I didn't overly care for in The Force Awakens. One, well, no, three actually. Brief. Maz never told us where she got that from.
Annoying, yeah.
Jakku not being Tatooine. Well, just go ahead and do it already. Oh, sorry, there's balloons. And then the third one was big Han Solo fan, big Harrison Ford fan. I was hoping it would go down a different way. I was hoping it didn't have to come to fruition. Uh, but yeah, it
Yeah.
was tough to watch. It was
Mhm.
tough to watch. yeah, I wasn't overly pleased with it. We knew that he probably was like, yeah, hey, I'll do this for a quick bankroll and help get the new series off the ground and everything. And I thought he played a good mentor role to Ray in the show, showing you that transition, and that scene where he's in the Falcon saying, it's real, it's all real.
Yeah,
That was great, but
iconic. Yeah.
yeah, but or it's true. Sorry, it's all true. Um, but yeah, him taking that in the gut was tough to watch. Uh, but yeah, that's where I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I it depends on how bad my mood is. So, I like when I see what they did with the rest of
Yeah,
the trilogy, um, I start to feel more sour about the death of Han Solo, because they kind of denied, I think, legacy fans, so much with that trilogy, and undermined so many expectations. And they kind of broke down Luke in a couple of ways,
yeah,
and there was, of course, the breaking down of perceptions of Han Solo with his divorce, separation, estrangement from Leia. They basically took the end of Return of the Jedi and that happy group hug that they all do, as the credits roll, and they kind of blew it up. All of it, like
they did.
the happy ending for everybody, was for naught. And I could have fully liked and accepted the death of Han Solo if certain other things weren't broken, or if they didn't even have to do this. Han and Leia could have still been together and
Hmm.
killed Han. They didn't have to do any of that. Literally none of the goals were accomplished, or like the character plot points were accomplished by having them be
No,
apart. It just sort of added sour grapes, and I think Gen X, I'm going to lob a bomb at Gen X divorce, nihilism politics, and just like, yeah, of course they had to get divorced because that's real life. What if it's not? What if that is not real life?
right.
That didn't have to happen. And that's my venting as a millennial
No,
of
you're
yeah.
you're bringing it back to me. I went into it with sunshine and rainbows, thinking about the 10th anniversary, but you are correct. I mean, most of the blame goes towards people talking about The Last Jedi and where it flipped things even more over. But you're right. The way they did these things with the legacy characters really didn't have to be done. And I forget who I was talking to that said, you know, not to go down this tangent, but I have to. One one conversation from Anakin's Force Ghost to Luke saying, "Hey, you were able to find good in me. He's your nephew. Find good in him. You saved me and you saved the galaxy.
Yep.
Don't strike down your nephew, or don't think about striking down your nephew. Use your power that you used and your strength to change me to change him. And to go along with splitting them up, making him the curmudgeon old guy who flips the lightsaber over his shoulder. Man, see, now you're making me sour again, Steven.
Well, but now I'm gonna swing in the other direction here, and I'm going to now make the reverse case, which is that when I'm in a good mood, and I'm not in a bad mood, like I said before, I resonate with the death of Han Solo. I actually think it was beautifully done, and the layers of that scene continue to move me and feel important to me. You know, yes, Han and Leia didn't work out, and Han, I guess, according to the books, went off and kind of like got involved in racing, and kind of became like a little bit of a deadbeat dad, and Ben Solo resented him and all that kind of stuff. Uh, but then he kind of reaches that point earlier in the movie where Conja clubs and there's like nowhere left for you to run,
Yes.
and that is in his mind for the rest of the movie, leading all the way up to not running from facing Ben, walking out on that platform. And I think knowing what was going to happen, I believe very strongly Han knew what was this was going to go badly.
I agree.
Um, and they did it intentionally so that you could read it a bunch of different ways by the body language and what goes on with the lightsaber. There are some people that think Han ignited it into himself, but that doesn't really make sense because of Kylo Ren's facial expressions don't express surprise,
Yeah.
even though he says thank you. And it's basically that, like, he says thank you, so people go, I think Han did it to himself, and he's thanking him. No, he's thanking him for s-
Making it easier, making
make,
an easier
making
process.
it easier. And when he said, like, I'll do anything for you, Han was like wink. I think he was wink, wink, nod, nodding at I will do anything for you. And when you jump forward to the Last Jedi, and Snoke says, you killed your father, the deed broke you in two. I firmly believe Han knew that that was going to break him in two. That, in many ways, is it's the Christ-like sacrifice. Forgive them, Father. They know not what they do, and I'm going to break my body for all of mankind so that they will see they are loved, irrationally by a God that made them, by a father. It's that sacrifice is saying I love you. And he wasn't there for him his whole life, and letting him do that as a dark sider, because
Yeah.
he knows that dark siders have to, like, kill their old life, and that does include their family and all that stuff. And so he let him do it, knowing it would hurt him. And that's really beautiful. And as far as, like, Han going out, I endorse it. I endorse it 100%.
Being a father, when you see him put his hand on his cheek like that,
Oh, it gets me. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I it does. It guts you. I we promised not to keep this long, so I'm gonna do a little tangent off of the Harrison Ford thing. You brought up that you're a big Harrison Ford household. Have you? I have not watched 1923 yet, but have you watched Shrinking?
Yes, I have watched Shrinking. We are halfway through the new season.
Okay.
Do enjoy it. Harrison Ford, he's just the same character. We're gonna put character in air quotes because he's not an actor. He's
It's
just Harrison
Harrison.
Ford.
Exactly.
It's, it's never. I don't think I've ever seen this man act. It's amazing. I love his performance in Shrinking, and it's funny seeing him in a comedic setting. So.
Same here. I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know if I want to see Indiana Jones and Han Solo in this kind of a role. But once I jumped in, I've loved his portrayal and his character in this the whole time. So yeah, that was good. I'm glad you are a fan of that show. I tell you what, I don't want to keep you. Are there any other quick topics, Star Wars related, anything like that at all that you want to hit before we break away and let you go have a good weekend?
Well, I just general note of excitement. I'm super excited for Ahsoka season two. That for me, actually was like the pinnacle of Star Wars since 2015 is Ahsoka season one.
Nice. Okay.
That for me, that is Star Wars. I love it.
Space
Um,
whales, the whole thing. Yeah. No.
Yes, yes. I no, I love it. It's kind of just one of those things where, it's like different strokes for different folks.
Hmm.
Some people like criminal underworld stuff. Some people like, the Amblin Entertainment Kids Adventure. I loved the fantasy, spirituality element of Ahsoka. Convening with Anakin in the World Between Worlds, the faith based element of, like, going off into space with the whales. All of that stuff was so rich and fantastical, and it actually filled me with joy, which is not something people, I think, tend to express excitement online and on Twitter about certain things and enjoyment of
Hmm.
things. But I think enjoyment and excitement are not the same as genuine joy. like something that lit you up in a special way. And Ahsoka did that for me. That was that was a special piece of Star Wars, and I'm very excited for season two. So it can't come soon enough.
That's awesome. I don't know. I think that's a next year thing, a 2026 thing when that will be out. That's one thing. It's kind of a bummer. Sometimes these things drag their feet because we like them and then we have to sit and wait and wait and wait. Um, I guess we were used to that back in the 80s and the late 90s, early 2000s with the movies with the 3 year wait, but we've ramped things up a little bit in today's technology and society where it's give it to me right now. But I'm glad you like that. I look, there's only been a few shows that or a few things related to Disney Star Wars where I'm like, Acolyte being one of them. It just didn't sit right with me. It didn't,
Hmm.
it just didn't, it wasn't my cup of tea. There are plenty of people that it is, and that's fine. We always say tea,
I think
you
you're a bad person for saying that.
know,
Just to be clear, possibly a fascist.
man. I need to get you and Rifen back on here together and have the discussion on you know what we need to have? We need to have how does and or correlate with today's society. That's what we need to have. That's
I look forward to it.
yeah, let's do that. Look, again, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming on all the times you have. I really we will plan out another one when we get the full crew together and have some greater conversations. But you stepping out and doing this for me real quick while we had some free time, I appreciate it. Just hope you keep having great successes, and we'll be supporting you in anything that you're doing. And hey, listeners, if you haven't got How the Force Can Fix the World, please go get that because Stephen Kent wrote it. I've already read it. Most of the guys in my crew have read it. It's a great book and it hits home very well. So, Stephen, thanks. And where can people track you down and find you, Stephen?
Yeah, I do love Twitter. Stephen Kent X, that's Stephen Kent X. And I'm on YouTube at Geeky Stoics. And you should definitely check out our channel there.
You got it. Well, hey, thanks so much to our listeners, to our followers, to all of our friends in the Star Wars community. Thanks for checking us out. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.